Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvarajacharya Shrothara Vishishanta Vindri Sapai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Sanstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So in continuation of the programs that have been held and classes to prepare us for tomorrow's Rath Yatra and the excitement of seeing Lord Jagannath, Subhadra and Baladev again, and seeing them in their most ecstatic manifestation as they travel down the streets of the public world, bringing their darshan to all the conditioned souls and all the devotees as well. So we're going to study a particular chapter, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Rath Yatra from the Caitanya Charitamrita. But first, let us chant the standard invocation mantra. Jaya Jaya Gaurachandra Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna. So we're going to study text 1 of chapter 13 of the Madhya Lila, and this chapter is called the Ecstatic Dancing of the Lord at Rath Yatra. Sa Jiyat Krishna Caitanya Shri Ratagre Nanartha Jaha Yenasi Jagatam Chitram Jagannatho Api Vismita Sajaya Krishna Chaitanya Shri Ratagre Nanataryaha Yenasi Jagatam Chitram Jagannathopi Vishmitam Sajiya Krishna Chaitanya Shri Ratagre Nanartayaha Yenasi Jagatam Chitram Jagannathopi Vismita. Anyone have to chant? I'm sitting here, I can barely read myself.
Satya Krishna Caitanya
Shri Ratagre Nanartaja
Yenasi Jagatam Chitram
Jagannathopi Vismita.
Sajiya Krishna Caitanya
Sajiya Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Ratagre Nanartaya
Shri Ratagre Nanartaya
Yenasi Jagatam Chitram
Jagannathopi Vismita. Sajiya Krishna Chaitanya Shri Ratagre Nanartaja Yenasi Jagatam Chitram Jagannathopi Vismitam. Saha He Jiyat may live long. Krishna Chaitanya, Lord Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Ratha Agre, in the front of the car, Nanarta, danced, Yaha, who, Yena, by whom, Asit, there was, Jagatam, of the whole universe, Chitram, wonder, Jagannatha, Lord Jagannath, Api, also, Vismitaha, was astonished. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole world, the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. Please repeat. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified by seeing his dancing. Not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. Hare Krishna. Jai Jai. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Hare Krishna. There's no purport to this particular verse, but we're going to study pretty well the whole chapter. There isn't time for us to read the whole chapter through every verse and purport. So I'm going to kind of just summarize it as best I possibly can. But this is an amazing transcendental pastime. And as it said here, even Lord Jagannath is in astonishment. So if Lord Jagannath is in astonishment at the pastimes that are happening during his Rath Yatra with Lord Caitanya, what chance have I got of describing them and entering into that understanding? But Krishnadas Kaviraj has done an amazing job in this chapter. It is so beautifully constructed that it offers us a description so that we can almost feel ourselves there with the devotees in Jagannath Puri. We can get an understanding of what is happening as Lord Jagannath comes onto his cart, and the mood of Lord Caitanya and his devotees, and as they organize themselves and get into it. And so we're given this beautiful description, and it gets deeper and deeper with the mood of the Lord going into his ecstasies. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj actually allows us into the mind of Lord Caitanya, hearing his meditation in the mood of Radharani towards Jagannath. And we're actually allowed the privilege of hearing the conversation that this whole pastime represents between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. And the whole purpose and purport of Rath Yatra is thus revealed to us. It is quite astounding, this chapter. So I will give a little summary, but I recommend that we all study it again before tomorrow to really appreciate the blessing, the good fortune, the incredible opportunity that we have when we step outside and pull the cart of Rath Yatra, hear the kirtan, and dance in ecstasy. So, it was Rath Yatra day in Jagannath Puri. And that's coming up, I think, on Thursday, isn't it? The actual Rath Yatra in Puri is Thursday, Friday, yeah. So we're very, very close to that. Lord Caitanya and his associates, they got up in the dark. It was so early there. And they got themselves ready, dressed, and because they wanted to see this festival, Pandu Vijaya. That's the ceremony in which Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple, where he is being kind of held in seclusion for the last 2 weeks. And he's coming onto his carts. And Jagannath is huge. Huge. And there's these dietas, these very, very strong guys. These aren't the Brahmins and the pujaris. These are devotees from a Shabara race, considered in many ways untouchable in other circumstances. They herd pigs, but this is their service. Lord Chaitanya's mercy. He gives them the chance to carry him onto his cart. And they're carrying him, you hear just lifting him, and they're moving him from these big tulis, these cotton pads, which have been placed, because they could just lift him and put him down again, lift him and put him down again. And when he put them down on the cotton pads, no matter how they're constructed, Lord Jagannath is so heavy that the pads go and the cotton's flying into the air. And it's increasing the kind of ecstasy and the festivity of it. And here we have these devotees who we might think are not qualified in so many ways as sadhakas, as purified, but they're doing this incredible service, lifting the Supreme Personality of Godhead from his temple to his cart. This is just amazing. Of course, it said that the Lord moves apana ichaya, by his own sweet will. Everything that is happening is his own sweet will. But he is giving, even though he does not need anything from us. he is giving us the chance for this service. So, and as all of this is happening, Lord Caitanya is starting to enter into the mood and chanting. Remember what he says? Mahima, Mahima, which is the praise of a great personality. Meanwhile, the king is there, King Prataparudra, and he is busy. He's taking a very menial position. So you can see that the Shabras in the menial situation are taking a very elevated position, lifting Lord Jagannath. The king, meanwhile, is taking a menial position. And he's got his broom with his golden handle, and he's brushing the road in front of Jagannath and just trying to make it clean, sprinkling sandal water everywhere. So it's said that this humility, this willingness to take on that service for the Lord, qualified him. Lord Caitanya was watching, and Lord Caitanya had already refused to meet him before this point, because he's just a money guy and surrounded by money and women, and it's not appropriate for a sannyasi who is disconnected with the world to be associated with such a person. That's Lord Caitanya's kind of social dharma. And but Lord Caitanya was appreciating what the king was doing, and it said that this mercy of appreciating Lord Caitanya as the universal guru and Lord Jagannath as the universal Lord, that qualification of appreciating Guru and God together qualifies us for receiving the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So the cart is all set up, and it's beautifully described. It's got these silken canopies, it's got a beautiful flag, it's got bells and pictures all over it. It's just beautiful. And this is a famous purport for those of us who celebrate London Rath Yatra, where Prabhupada talks about Krishnadas Kaviraj says that the residents of Jagannath compared this beautifully huge cart to Mount Sumeru. And that's how they understood it was just so huge. And Prabhupada says, yes. And in 1973, in London, we had a wonderful Rath Yatra. And the Guardian newspaper compared the Rath cart to Nelson's column. It said, it's a rival to Nelson's column. This huge, I don't know if you've seen it, it's big. As Prabhupada said, you can see for a long, long way. Our cart wasn't that big. But it was probably one of the biggest things that's ever been brought into Trafalgar Square. And that was, I unfortunately was not present for that, but there's pictures, there's some videos available to see Prabhupada dancing the whole route of the Rath Yatra procession in London, from Hyde Park Corner all the way down to Trafalgar Square. It takes about an hour and a half, that particular route. And Prabhupada was just there in the front, dancing the whole way, just totally ecstatic, having this celebration. I think if you ever get the chance, talk to devotees who have experienced Prabhupada at Rath Yatra. There's such a pride, such a validation that Prabhupada experiences during these Rath Yatras, that his little movement that he started is now taking up this space in these major cities. Last weekend was Rath Yatra in New York, and Prabhupada had enjoyed that, going down Fifth Avenue, these major bastions of material civilization. And there's the devotees with Lord Jagannath in the cart just going down the street. It's just incredible. And Prabhupada appreciated this. So Jagannath, Subhadra and Balaram are all on their carts. 15 days they've been in this Anavasara period where Lord Jagannath is hiding away and performing intimate, secret pastimes with the supreme goddess of fortune. And then he's asking her, okay, is it all right if I just nip out for a little bit? I just want to go down the road a little bit to the Gundicha. So she gives permission. And we'll hear what Lord Caitanya Lord Jagannath has in his mind when he's asking, can he go down to Gundicha? So, as Lord Jagannath was moving down the road, he could see the beautiful white sands of Jagannath Puri either side, and his mind is starting to fill with, I'm getting close to Vrindavan. I'm going. This is like the Jamuna, and he's moving sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, and it doesn't matter how much the Gaudas are all pulling the cart. You know, it's actually moving the way Jagannath wants it to move, not necessarily just on the strength of the devotees. And Lord Caitanya it takes advantage of the fact when one time the cart actually stops. So he starts to get the devotees together and he wants to organize them. So this is another beautiful aspect that Krishna's Kaviraj explains, the organization of the kirtans. It's not just left to chance. It's not just, we'll see on the day. You know, Lord Caitanya has a plan for this. So he takes 24 devotees and divides them into 4 groups. And in each group, there's 6 main devotees. One is the leader, and 5 are the respondents. So one main singer, 5 respondents, and then everything else. Plus a dancer for each group, a lead dancer, and 2 mridangas for each group. So that was the setup. So you have Srivas Thakur, and he had 5 of his respondents, and Nityananda was his dancer. Mukunda, who we know was a wonderful singer, had his 5 respondents, and Haridas was his dancer. And Govinda Ghosh had another 5, and Vakreshwara, we know was an amazing dancer. And Swarup Damodar, also singing, and with his and Advaita. So it's interesting, the few oldies as the dancers. So the expectancy is we keep on dancing. So these are the 4 main groups. Plus there was another 3 groups that came from particular villages, often connected with the devotees, where they were doing preaching or where they had set up sanghas, namhatas, for want of a better word. And so they also had their organizing. So 7 kirtan parties, the 4 in the main ones, and 2 villages on either side, and 1 at the back. And that was the phalanx, if you like, of kirtan, going ahead of Lord Jagannath to conquer everything in front of them. So, Lord Caitanya, where was he? Well, he was showing his mystic potency, because he wasn't just appearing in one of the groups. He was actually, every group thought, wow, this is fantastic. Lord Caitanya is in our group. He's willing to be with our kirtan. So everyone was thinking, and of course this is like the rasa dance where Krishna is dancing alongside every gopi and she's singing, Krishna's just with me. When the cowherd boys take prasadam and they think, Krishna's there, he's just looking at me while we're eating prasadam. So this is Krishna's potency. His ability to relate to every single devotee personally. There's no loss. It's not that if we make more devotees, well, how will Krishna get round us all? How will Krishna look after us? No, that's not how it works. Krishna is already in the hearts as the Paramatma. So he's already with every individual. Okay. So to manifest personally in front of them during the kirtan, this is not a major aspect. But it is just part of the wonder of the mystic activities of Lord Caitanya. Not everyone could see this, but a few devotees could. Swarup Damodar and the king, they noticed what Lord Caitanya was doing. And it said later that maybe a few others also. But these are just the kind of particular pastimes. And it's in these sort of situations that Lord Caitanya is showing his dual aspect, in that he sometimes performs pastimes. Generally he's performing pastimes as a devotee of Krishna. But then other times he's performing pastimes as Krishna. So this is the sort of variegatedness that he does. And in this particular case, Lord Caitanya is starting to enter into this just incredible mood of the kirtan, where you got this tumultuous noise, and it said no one could hear anything else, everything else was drowned out. It was just this incredible kirtan going on, and Lord Caitanya is entering into it and forgetting himself entirely. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is now basically switched off from any duty, if you like, assigned to God in the maintenance of anything of this world and the spiritual world. And his potencies are all doing it because he is now just lost in this meditation. So Lord Caitanya is dancing, and all the kirtan groups start to combine, and everyone's getting very, very ecstatic. And in this state, we start to hear Lord Chaitanya's mind. And it begins with a verse this one verse we all know. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Cha Jagatataya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. And then some very famous verses. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandanansto. Jayati Jayati Krishno Vrishni Vangsa Pradipa. Jayati Jayati Mega Shamala Kamalango. Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharo. Nasho Mukunda. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. Lord Krishna is he who is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nandan, or Yashoda Nandan, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. So these are a little formal prayers, and they're presented here because we have to attune ourselves. We're just normally lost in our everyday thoughts, our everyday life and world. And we need a little tuning in to Jagannath. When we come from outside into the temple, we have to kind of tune ourselves. And in many ways, this is a lesson being offered in this part of the chapter. So we're hearing verses which are kind of formally describing who this personality of Jagannath is. In relationship to, Devaki, Yashoda, Nanda, and the potencies of God. So this is an appreciation of who we're actually in the association with. And so Lord Caitanya, I think, is offering us a way to pray in order to be appropriate and in the mood that helps us to introduce us to the mood of Rath Yatra. So now Lord Caitanya is getting into the kirtan. He's dancing, and it said he's circling like a firebrand. It's like waving a stick of fire around so that it's starting to be looking very astonishing. And he's exhibiting ecstatic symptoms. He's falling, rolling on the ground, and Nityananda's there. He's trying to catch him, and they formed 3 circles around Lord Caitanya because they thought things are developing, and he's really starting to be, and you could say eccentric, in that they don't know what's happening, and they're starting to worry about him, and they want to protect him from himself and protect him from the crowd who's obviously crushing in to try and see Lord Caitanya. So they have 3 circles. The Nityananda and Swarup Damodar are the inner circle, and there's other devotees forming around them, and then the king had formed a circle with his guys. So during this time, the king is also trying to see the pastimes of Lord Caitanya. His minister Harish Chandra was in front of him, and had said the king had his hands on his shoulders, trying to see. And Harish Chandra, being a good minister, wants to give a good view for his boss, the king. And in front of them is Srivas Thakur. And Srivas Thakur is also just completely absorbed in Lord Caitanya, not just in watching him as a spectator, but just knowing the mood and just feeling it. And Harish Chandra is tapping him and asking him to move aside so that the king can see better. And Srivas Thakur is just, what's this guy doing behind me? And eventually Srivas gets so annoyed at this disturbance, he turns around and he slaps Harish Chandra. And Harish Chandra, what? You can't do that, I'm the king's minister, And the king says, you are very lucky. You've just got the blessings of Srivas Thakur. You should be so fortunate. So now even Lord Jagannath thinks, I've got to stop and see this. So he stops the cart and he's watching Lord Caitanya. And at this point, the ecstasies are getting very deep. And Lord Caitanya appears to be fainting. He's losing consciousness. He's starting to choke. The devotees are very, very worried about him. So in this situation, externally it seems strange. It seems frightening. It seems something that it's a state we might not want to contemplate being in, because if you were normally in that state, you'd be rushed off to the hospital. You'd be in ICU for a while. They'd be figuring out how to get you out of this. But this depth of ecstatic emotions was now where Lord Caitanya is starting to go much deeper. And now we hear other types of verses that can reveal a deeper mind. And Swarup Damodar, always in tune with Lord Caitanya's moods, starts to sing a particular verse. And it goes, now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. And we'll read the purport. This song refers to Srimati Radharani's meeting with Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Lord Shri Krishna and his brother and sister came to visit when there was a solar eclipse. It is a song of separation from Krishna, When Radharani met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she remembered his intimate association in Vrindavan, and she thought, now I have gained the Lord of my life. In his absence I was being burned by the arrow of Cupid, and thus I was withering away. And then she adds, now I have my life again. So Lord Chaitanya is back into, hearing this verse, there's a certain pacification, and he's back to dancing more. It says rhythmically, is the word Prabhupada uses, which means that it's not as erratic as it had previously been. And the cart starts to move forward. Lord Chaitanya, now in this mood, goes to the cart and gazes at Jagannath. And as long as Lord Chaitanya was in front of Jagannath's cart, the cart would move. But if Lord Chaitanya just dropped behind, Jagannath would stop and wait for him to come back again in front, and then they would move on. And there was this sort of competition, well, not really a competition, but the situation where the cart was moving, stopping, and Lord Chaitanya. So it was very clear that what we are starting to experience at this point is Lord Chaitanya wishing for Radharani, for Lord Jagannath wishing for Radharani to be ahead of him, pulling him back to Vrindavan. And as long as Jagannath could see Lord Chaitanya in front of him in this mood of Radharani, this Radha Juti Bhava, or Bhava Juti rather, he was willing to kind of keep on moving forward. And then we start to hear some other beautiful verses. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So Lord Chaitanya was reciting this verse again and again. And now we're entering into his meditation, and there Lord Chaitanya is completely wrapped up in the conversations that existed between the gopis and Radharani and Krishna at Kurukshetra. And it starts with some appreciation of Krishna, and they're so pleased to see him. But then they start to raise some complaints. From the mood of appreciating that they're seeing Lord Chaitanya, they're thinking, Lord Jagannath, they start to feel, yes, but you left us. You went away. You just left us and burning in this fire of separation. And then what did you do? You sent Uddhava to us. And he was going on about jnana and yoga and meditation and all this sort of stuff. How is that going to help us? We should control our minds and through meditation. That's not going to work. The gopis were saying, our whole consciousness is wrapped up in you. That's just all there is for us. There's nothing else. There's no question of pulling at our meditation from you into something else. So they were upset with him for all this thing. And he says, we would love to withdraw our consciousness from you and engage it in material activities. But even though we try, I cannot do so. You're naturally inclined, and so these instructions, just not very good. You to think that they're going to work for us. So the gopis, they're not like mystic yogis. They're just purely in love with Krishna. So this is teaching this sort of meditation, they complained, is a type of duplicity. And actually, it makes us more angry with you. So the gopis are kind of thinking like this, and Lord Caitanya is appreciating how they have fallen into this kind of ocean of separation, devoured by the Timingala fish. Now, what is this Timingala fish that's devouring the gopis in this situation? It's interesting. It's described as their ambition to serve Krishna. Now, this is an important point, that actually the angst that a devotee suffers is their anxiety to be engaged in the service of Krishna. This is a very, very important point for all of us involved in ISKCON and eager to engage not just new conditioned souls, but particularly those devotees who have at some point come and given themselves to Krishna and who seem to be distant from us at the moment. And I know that there's been programs in different places, and we had them in the UK, trying to kind of offer appreciation to these devotees for their service and things that they have done. And that's very nice, that kind of reaching out. But that's not saving them from that Timingala fish. Because the anxiety in their hearts that their life is passing and they need to do more for Krishna. They need to kind of give back more to Prabhupada, and they don't feel they've had the opportunity or the situation to do that. That's what's burning in them. And that's what we have to try and satisfy. Not just appreciation for what devotees did in the past, but encouragement and opportunity and somehow or other ways in which they can continue to engage in whatever is suitable for them at this time. And then the gopis show that they're not just concerned for themselves, but their complaint is, you seem to have forgotten everyone in Vrindavan, Krishna. Your mom, your dad, all the devotees, you've forgotten Govardhan, you've forgotten all of us. So that's the complaint. They say, you're a fine gentleman. We know that you have that good nature. But how on earth have you managed to forget us? That is the thing. And so Radharani particularly is expressing lament not just for herself, but actually for the condition of others. And in this way, taking up this mood of the gopis, and Lord Caitanya is calling on Jagannath to please return to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada says this is the purport of Jagannath's cart going from Puri to Gundicha. So we know that from the Bhagavatam how Krishna tries to pacify Radharani and says, actually I cry every day thinking about you all. I may do my duties and do everything I'm supposed to do and work, but actually I'm always just crying because I'm not with you all. You're all my life and soul. And I am totally under your control. So, of course I'm coming back to Vrindavan, And in fact, I come there every day and perform pastimes with you, invisibly. And that's thanks to Narayan's grace, Krishna saying, that I'm able to do that. But I'll be back for real soon. There's been a lot of demons, and I'm here dealing with all these demons because I'm frightened for you. I'm trying to protect you all. So I was making this very pragmatic. I've killed nearly all the demons. There's 4 left, It'll take me, 10, 20 days? And I'll be back there. So Damodar was the expert at fanning Lord Chaitanya's mood when he would be thinking in these deep ecstasies of separation, and would sing exactly the right type of song or verse, and so that it would accentuate Lord Chaitanya's mood. So Lord Chaitanya is feeling this kind of madness of transcendental bliss, and seeing Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy here at Rath Yatra, it just attracted everyone who had gathered for Rath Yatra. And Rath Yatra, it's a festival, and people come to festivals not necessarily because they're just absolutely devoted to Jagannath. They come to this festival because it's a big event, and festivals are fun, and they take you out of yourself, and they kind of, Prabhupada knew that. Festivals are fun, and therefore, it's part of the king's duty, actually, in the government to make sure that there's plenty of festivals for the population. It creates cohesion and gets everyone involved. But in this case, seeing Lord Chaitanya's ecstasies, his dancing, his mood, everyone was amazed. Not just the devotees, not just the Sankirtan devotees, the Kirtaniyas, not just all Lord Chaitanya's associates who knew him, not just all the Brahmins, but all the ministers, it says everyone, just the residents, everyone, the pilgrims who'd come in, just anyone who just arrived there, they all were astounded seeing Lord Chaitanya. Now, that's what we are trying to create in the minds of those who see the Rath Yatra Fest. They should be astonished. They should be amazed. They should just see the happiness of the devotees. One event I can't forget is when we were doing Harinam in just one little suburb of London, and the devotees were chanting. And there was these 2 ladies watching a little distant. And one said, I don't know what they're doing, but I can see such joy on their faces that I would give everything I have just to taste that. Just to have that joy also. That's what the beauty of devotees engaged in kirtan can transmit to the heart of those who know nothing about transcendental life. Just seeing the joy of the devotees. So in Rath Yatra, it isn't just a day out for us. It's a day to enter into these ecstasies of the chanting, of being with Lord Jagannath as he gives his mercy to the population, and to ensure that we are reflecting Jagannath's mood, Lord Chaitanya's mood, the mood of what we are hearing here as the mood of Rath Yatra. It's our job to transmit that and to, as I say, reflect it so that others appreciate, wow, this is the community, this is the feeling, this is the cohesion and love, this is the mood of spirituality which I would love to take up. I probably mentioned it before, but I think I was probably just 14, 15, when I saw, I was watching Top of the Pops in the UK, and it was September '69, and the Mahamantra was into the charts. Only got to number 12 in the UK. No, what devotees say. Got to number 12, which is, in those days, that meant a lot of records. You had to sell a huge amount of singles to get into the charts. And what they showed was some footage of the devotees. And it was it was footage of what they had done in the first Rath Yatra in London. And I was just watching this grainy black and white image of the devotees chanting and pulling the cart down the road in London. And I was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to have that level of devotion, that you would give yourself to that activity? Such a dangerous thought to have. But if we can get those thoughts going into people's minds, who knows the transformations that can happen. So, Lord, I just finished in a couple of minutes, is that right? So Lord Caitanya then wanted to give personal mercy to the king. So he arranged that at one point in his dancing, where he was falling, this time Nityananda wasn't around. So the other devotees weren't around. He fell just in front of the king. And the king didn't know what to do, but his natural thing was to try and pick up Lord Caitanya. And when Lord Caitanya realized he was being carried and lifted by the king, he came back to his senses and then exhibited his external kind of social principle. Oh, I've been touched by a king. Oh, this is terrible for a sannyasi. And the poor king goes, oh no, I've offended Lord Caitanya. What'll I do? And at that point, Swarup got to him and said, no, actually, you have to understand that's Lord Caitanya is ensuring that he is giving us both the transcendental ecstasies that go beyond any kind of ethical, social norms. But at the same time, Lord Caitanya is giving us what are the standards, what are the ethical and social norms that we have to follow in order to separate misbehavior from pure spiritual activity. Because otherwise, and it's a fact in spiritual life or pseudo-spiritual life and religious activities, people exhibit activities outside of social norms, claiming that it's all transcendental and it's all spiritual and it's okay. So Lord Caitanya was dealing with that, but Swarup Damodar explained no. And actually Lord Caitanya is very, very satisfied, and I'm going to ask him again if he would meet with you. So now the cart moves on and it goes to Balagandi, and this is where it stops because there's it's a nice area at that time, certainly. Very beautiful. The Brahmins were living on one side, and on the other these beautiful gardens and groves with trees and things. And so this is where Jagannath stops, and everyone brings in the boga and makes offerings. And it's open for everyone in this particular case, not just the pujaris and pandas and things, but the king and ministers and his queens and all the public. They're bringing in offerings, and Lord Jagannath is enjoying it all. And then this is where the devotees take a little break, relax, rest up, and enjoy themselves. So in the verse that kind of sums up the whole mood now. So in his prayer known as the Chaitanyashtakam, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a vivid description of the Lord's dancing before the car of Jagannath. And This is how he summarizes it. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachala, who was sitting on his car, overwhelmed by the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy names. He manifested waves of ecstatic love of Godhead. When will Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? Interesting. We often sing this verse, when will Lord Jagannath be visible to my vision? And there's Rupa Goswami meditating on Lord Chaitanya's dancing in front of Jagannath. I'm thinking, yes, when will Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? Now, then the Shruti Phal, the fruit of enjoying and reading this chapter is summarized by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They will also attain the elevated status by which they have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. This is an interesting way of phrasing this. So often we read Shruti Phals that basically if you hear this pastime, you achieve liberation. You will achieve love of Godhead. This one is nicely phrased, that you will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Firm conviction. And I think that's such a nice statement because it kind of resonates for the stage of our progression. That what is important to us is to have firm conviction in devotional service, that process of devotional service, and firm conviction that this process will lead us to love of Godhead. So praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, our Krishnas narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Lord Chaitanya is dancing in Rath Yatra ki jai. Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Jai. Glory to Prabhupada.
His Grace Akhandadi Prabhu ki jai.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhibhyascha Patitanam
Would Lord Chaitanya attend all every year at the Yatra?
No.
Every year?
I suggest today you can go around.
I think yes, because the devotees came from Bengal to see him there. So yes, this is we can't know for sure whether this was just one particular run or whether this is the compilation of all the different pastimes, because that's perfectly valid. What it does is give us the full picture of Lord Chaitanya.
The devotees, we would request you, we take a picture as a group together with Srila Prabhupada for His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj. We asked you to send some picture.
Yeah, I'm here and, I send the pictures to so where is the devotees?
Where are the
Devotees.
Is it okay if we take a picture?
It's called the kitchen.
Thank you.
What is this, standing to the side?
Yes.
Arrival devotees, I will devotees for picture.
Not for sure. Yes.
Oh, I just got out of my song.
It's probably about to come to
Jai Jagannath.
1, 2, 3. All right. Jai. Come The Prabhupada says that the theatre is the festival of feelings.
Yes.
The festival of joy.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Thank you.
Sinak, Patfosse, Sidak Terabjati, Patfosse,
Have you got all these pictures? No.
I was sending this one.
Okay.
I think I wasn't sure if you saw it. I was sending you something.
Send it, yeah. Please.
I can explain it also.
Send it, no, after the call. Yeah, send it and then we'll speak about it.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure, but in the WhatsApp thing it's written that you saw this.
In French, where
I sent it
I may have missed it.
very, yes, you have to come to the
I don't know why, but I'll check it out. I haven't.
to sing to the train for 3 hours, 4 hours, with about this stuff is
really exactly his chapter in the last book
Very lucky to be given a chance to enter this at all. Already for the night?
yeah, I think today is the preparation day. I made it about this call. But it's all going in a good direction. So I use the word road, which is the brightest thing, but on the planet there will be a big presentation for tomorrow. Et je ne suis pas encore prêt à prêcher. Je suis pas encore prêt d'aller prêcher, d'aller continuer ici. Donc, ça ne va pas.